Okay, everyone. Welcome to a new video series. I've never done one of these before, but I've always wanted to. I've just never been quite sure how, but I've kind of looked around YouTube and I've seen how other people have done it. And my main concern was copyright strike stuff. I didn't want to, have all my videos copyright striked and, that's stupid. So I figure I'm going to just kind of play it safe, cut up into, smaller sections. Hopefully it doesn't get hit. And if it does, I'll try to see if I can get a fair use with commentary way out. We'll see. Anyway, first video, I decided I'm going to hop into Joy Division. I'm going to do Unknown Pleasures. I've never heard this album before. I've heard the first track and maybe part, if not all, of the second. I've heard the Killers' cover of Shadowplay, so I'm familiar with that song, but all the others I have no idea. I've heard three New Order songs. That's it. So I'm largely unfamiliar with this band and what became of this band afterwards, which was New Order. I've never been able to get into this album. I've tried, but it's never felt, I don't know if I'd say it's never felt like my thing, but it's felt really inaccessible to me. So I figured for my first one of these, I'm just going to sit down and listen to this album front to back, force myself to do it. It might not be for me. I want to put a preface out there. If it looks like I'm not enjoying it, I might not be, but that doesn't mean I'm having a bad time. I want to figure this album out. I want to see what makes it tick and what makes it have a 10 out of 10 on Pitchfork. So on pretty much everything. Anyway, post-punk gothic rock, Joy Division. They did 2 albums before Ian Curtis killed himself, and then they kind of dissolved into New Order, which became kind of a different band altogether. But I'm really fascinated by this project, this Joy Division. So I'm eager to see what's up with this. So, without further ado, let's begin with the first track, Disorder. And this was 1979. Yeah, 1979. I'm intrigued by the instrumentation because it seems really almost garage rock to a point where it just seems really skeletal, but there's a thickness to it which I find interesting. It's like I respect the music, I respect everything about it. It's just really hard to digest. Someone in the comments on a video I saw somewhere said that it just really bummed them out. Like they loved it, but they couldn't listen to it for long because it bummed them out, which I kind of get. Like, that happens to me with Radiohead, but this is a little different. This is a little more cut to the core. Going off the rails. And that was Disorder. I feel like it's an apt title. I mean, I'll reserve judgment on most of these songs until I finish the album, but that one didn't seem overly remarkable to me. But then again, I'm viewing this through a 2018 lens, so I'm just going to keep plugging along with the songs, and I'll see how I feel about most of them by the end. So this is Day of the Lords, which I've heard only part of, I think. Let's see how it goes. Very ominous. Yeah, I remember this song now. I imagine that Slint listened to a lot of Joy Division. I see how this is called gothic rock. I'm getting crazy Slint vibes here. Not a whole lot to react with these to with these songs because they repeat the same motifs over and over, which is, you know, fine. Probably could have picked a better album to listen to for my first reaction video, but whatever. I'm reacting. The genre of post-punk is really fascinating to me because there's definitely like a punk energy to it, especially in the vocals, but it's not punk music. It's weird to be able to like draw a line from the genre of punk to post-rock because there's an obvious line. This is where it will end. You know, don't get the wrong idea. It may look like I'm completely disinterested in the music. That's not the case, at least not entirely. I'm appreciating it. I don't know if I'm vibing with it. But that's okay because I'm figuring this out. That's why I'm doing this. I needed to figure this album out. So now, new song, Candidate. Never heard it before. You thought the other songs were skeletal. There's almost a groove to it. It's groovy, but doesn't have a groove. Well, I say that and then the bass gets groovy. I try to get to you. You treat me like this. That's all that we know. It's really interesting to see the contrast between this band and New Order. You can see what Ian Curtis brought to this set of people is very potent. See, I just don't know how I feel about these songs they're barely there. It's just like this skeletal drum beat. Do 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 do. I don't know. Let's keep going. Insight. Will this give me insight? Someone open the dungeon. The next 3 songs are singles, it looks like, so I'm interested in that. This is really interesting so far. The resolutions are like really muddled. It's either the distortion or they're playing like chunky notes. Beep boop. I just want to say, I want to make a little note. I really like for Slint, for example, Spiderland. The sparseness of the instrumentation there works fantastically. But it's not in the mixing. It's like barely in the mixing because the instruments still have a presence, you know, like in Washer, when the guitar finally kicks in and it's just like, and the bass is very, you know, noticeably in the front. There's something very satisfying in that, but it's still very breathy and the vocals still have a lot of room. It's not really a post-punk band. I know it's not really fair to compare, but with this, it's like the mixing is like far away. It's like I'm listening to a band in another room. And that in and of itself isn't very satisfying. I know that is an atmosphere that is being created, but I'm still not quite vibing with it. We'll keep going, but that's just how I feel at the moment. I actually think if some of the instrumentation were a bit clearer and the mixing were a little more in the front, I'd like these songs a lot more, actually. Like, in principle, there's a lot here I respect. It's just the sound that's really getting to me. That's keeping me from liking it a lot. Almost an anticlimax. I felt like it was leading up to something a lot bigger, but, you know, It's Joy Division. All right, so New Dawn Fades is the next one. It looks like this is a single. Not really. It's just a song. So I guess She's Lost Control is the only single. Am I to understand that right? So New Dawn Fades is the next one. This one is apparently a big deal. So let's see. It's not very melodic, which isn't a negative per se, but it's like, it's not so much that it's not melodic as much as his singing like reverts into speaking at times. It's really bizarre. That's nice. That one part right there is probably the part I've liked this whole album, like genuinely liked. Again, that's not to say everything on this album has been bad, objectively bad. It's just personal subjective liking. That's the one part I've probably liked so far. Maybe a little bit of Day of the Lords I think is an interesting song. But New Dawn Fades feels like the new dawn's fading, man. We're halfway through the album. We've done 5 of 10 songs. How do I feel? I don't know. Again, I'm not saying these things expecting that there should be these things in the album. I'm just talking out loud. There's no excitement. There's really not much of a climax in anything. The songs kind of flatline in terms of intensity. They don't ramp up very much. And when they do, you can't really feel it in the mix. And they're pretty repetitive. Lyrics are interesting though. I'm not sure how I feel about the vocals still. But let's press on. Let's press on. Let's go with She's Lost Control, the single. Already the best song. Interesting harmonies and counterpoint with the melodies going on here. Some layering going on. Finally. Guitar is interesting. This is a little bit of an easier, like, atonal song to get behind compared to the other ones. Others. This album feels like a response to punk in a way. And it feels like a response to like the decadent lifestyle of like free love and like an introduction of like mental health, which I think is really interesting. Looking up, while I was listening to that, I was looking up in the recording section, and apparently Curtis's vocals for Insight were recorded on a telephone line. So it sounded like he was distant. I want to open that up again and play it. That makes sense. That makes sense. I thought that one sounded a little different. Okay, so now we're on to Shadowplay. I feel like this is the most rockish song so far. I think this is the most accessible song so far. It might be because I've heard a quite dumbed down version of it. It seems pretty straightforward, while also being fairly exciting. Guitar solo is very much of its time. Oh, it's over. Well, certainly better than The Killers, I'd say. I think it's an obvious choice for a cover because all the other ones are very much more nuanced. Let's just jump right into Wilderness. His vocal melodies are so hard to like nail down. He's like almost completely separate from the instrumentals that are going on. It's really bizarre. Like composition-wise, they're kind of unremarkable songs. I don't say that as like a criticism because sometimes like really simple composition can be like fantastic, but these, I don't find the melody compelling. Sorry, Wilderness, you're probably my least favorite so far. However, we do have Interzone, which is the only song on the album that has Peter Hook on lead vocals rather than Ian Curtis. So let's see how this goes. Oh, he sings so much better. I'm not a big punk fan. I'm wondering if that's part of the reason I'm not digging this. Because, like, my question would be, is there like a strong punk connection or ethos in this music? And if there is anything at all that I enjoy in punk music, it's the adrenaline and the energy, which is totally vacant here. What state of mind do you have to be in to enjoy this music? I don't know. Okay, so we're on the last song, I Remember Nothing. We're gonna truck through it and then I'm gonna give my opinions. And that'll be that. This is just like a soft piano ballad with strings. Chunky bass. Destruction. He does this thing where he'll like be crooning and then just like peter it out. We were strangers. It's really weird. Like he gets choked up at the end of his phrase. I'll point it out next time it happens. Right there. It's like a shift in vocalizing almost. It's like he sings from the throat all of a sudden.
More violent, his hand cracks the chair. Can't surrender too soon.
This reminds me of Dawn a Man off of Spiderland. There's like a grand empty feeling in this album, but it's not satisfying. I feel like this one has had the thickest atmosphere so far. Like this definitely like strikes something. It doesn't just feel like distant instruments and crooning. Well, it does feel like that, but insult to injury, I guess. Still going. Okay, that was Unknown Pleasures, guys. How do I feel about it? The same way I felt before I listened to the album. Don't get upset with me because I'm not slamming it, okay? This entire thing is just me trying to understand its appeal. So, I have an open call to everyone who has watched this video and would like to comment. What about this album do you enjoy? Do I need to come at it from a certain angle? Do I need to understand something special about it? Because just knowing very little about Joy Division other than a little bit about Ian Curtis, how they formed into New Order afterwards, I don't really know anything. I'm not completely familiar with post-punk, but I've heard a fair amount, but nothing from Joy Division aside from what I said before. So what am I missing? I don't dislike it, I just don't like it. There's a few things I liked. I would say any positives for this album. Day of the Lords is an interesting song. I like the instrumentation, or should I say the composition in that. It was either Candidate or Insight, I think. Some elements of that I enjoyed. She's Lost Control was alright. I like Shadowplay. And I Remember Nothing was interesting. Wilderness and Interzone were like really forgettable to me. Also, if you have any recommendations for albums for me to listen to next, I was thinking of having my next one just be Closer and just finishing off Joy Division entirely, or maybe do a New Order one to spice it up a little bit, give it a little bit of a change, go in a pop direction, you know. But if you guys have any recommendations, let me know, and I might consider them if they're ones that I haven't listened to before. So again, tell me, give me your thoughts, give me your feelings on this album. Maybe it'll help me come at it from a new light. If I'm missing something here, let me know. And at the very least, I might be able to understand it, even if I still don't enjoy it. So that is that. Thank you everyone so much for watching, and I will see you later.